What is up, guys? Welcome back to Holocron Hub, and today I'm going to be talking about one of the most recognizable, one of the most famous ships in all of Star Wars, and that is the X-wing. And more specifically, why the X-wing was the perfect ship for the Rebellion, and how the X-wing would lead to the Rebellion's victory. So first, let's talk about what made the X-wing so great. Well, first off, the X-wing came equipped with a life support system. This life support system would be able to give the pilot the oxygen they needed to breathe. The X-wing also had a very large arsenal, and this larger arsenal is great for attacking both air-to-air as well as air-to-ground targets. The X-wing also comes with an astromech droid, so if your ship gets damaged in battle, it can begin repairs right then and there, whereas if you didn't have an astromech, you would have to go back to a capital ship in order to start the repairs. The X-wing also had shields as well as a hyperdrive. And so whenever you take the X-wing and then compare it to their competitor, which is the TIE Fighter, the TIE Fighter does not have shields, it has a very limited arsenal, it has no life support, and no hyperdrive. The only leg up that the TIE Fighter has on the X-wing is the TIE Fighter is far faster and more maneuverable. And so you may be left asking yourself, if the X-wing is so much better than the TIE Fighter, why didn't the Empire just use the X-wing? And there are many reasons as for why they didn't, but the most obvious reason was because of the cost. A TIE Fighter was around half the cost of an X-wing, and so if you're going to outfit an entire Empire with these ships, that cost will add up drastically. And the choice for the Empire to use the TIE Fighter makes more sense when you consider that something like a hyperdrive, which would make up a bulk of the cost, really wouldn't make much sense for them to use, considering that when the Empire moves, they will move with a cruiser or some sort of flagship. Not only that, but when their fighters are deployed, they're going to be deployed in greater numbers than the Rebellion would. So overall, the TIE Fighter just makes the most sense from a logistical point of view. However, when it comes to the Rebellion, that extra chunk of change is well worth it when you consider the size and the firepower of the Rebellion. Now, the Rebellion was significantly smaller than the Empire and did not even come close to having the same resources as them. So, if the Rebellion is going to outfit the few pilots that they have, the ships they need to give them need to be very versatile. They need ships to be able to protect the starfighter that they're investing a ton of money in. They're going to need a large arsenal to take out both air-to-air as well as air-to-ground targets, and they also really need an astromech available to help out with onboard repairs, because the X-wing won't always have a flagship traveling with it. And most importantly, a small fighter with a hyperdrive is vital to the Rebellion. And the reason that I say that having a hyperdrive on a Rebellion's small fighter was vital to their success is because whenever you look at a small rebellion or an insurgency, they need mobility in order to win. And this is a lesson for any of you guys who are looking down to take down a large government or a larger power. If you are severely outnumbered and do not have the same resources as your opponent, the most effective way to beat them is through guerrilla warfare. Conducting the fight in a manner where you strike quickly and then get out as soon as possible is the type of fighting that led the United States to defeat Great Britain in the American Revolution, and is what led the United States to lose in Vietnam to a bunch of rice farmers with sandals and AKs, and is what led to the Galactic Empire to lose to the Rebellion. So if you are the Rebellion and you engage in guerrilla warfare where you strike quickly and then get out of dodge, you need to have a ship with hyperdrive capabilities. And a great example of this tactic actually being used by the Rebellion comes from Rogue One. If you remember, in Rogue One, the Rebellion did a guerrilla-style attack. A large number of X-wings did a hyperspace jump from Yavin 4 to Edu, where they did a quick attack in an attempt to assassinate Galen Erso, because he was the one building the Death Star. The landing pad they were on was already destroyed before the Empire even had a chance to scramble their fighters, leading there to be very minimal casualties for the Rebel Alliance. They came in, hit the target, and got out as quickly as they could. And had the Rebellion not been outfitted with an X-wing or any other ship that had hyperdrive capabilities, an attack like that may not have worked out as well. So for instance, say they're using ships without hyperdrives. The Rebellion would have to send out a flagship holding 20, 30, 40, however many starfighters they want for this attack. The flagship would have to come out of hyperspace, the ships would have to launch, the starfighters go attack their target, and then the flagship would have to wait for all available ships to return. Having small ships being tied to the flagship would make an attack slower and easier to prepare for from a defensive standpoint. Not to mention, if you take out the flagship, then all the other starships are just stranded there. And so while the X-wing was not an inexpensive ship, it was the perfect ship for the rebellion. The X-wing gave the rebellion the mobility they needed, considering they could never stay in one place for too long. Because, you know, the rebellion was always on the run. And had they had their fighters similar to the way the Empire did, where they're all tied to a capital ship, it would have been much easier for the Empire to take them out. So while the TIE Fighter made sense for the Empire with their millions of pilots and hundreds of capital ships, such a fighter would not really do well for a ragtag rebellion just trying to take down a huge empire. And a ship as versatile as the X-wing was perfect for them. So what do you think? Do you think that the choice to buy more expensive ships was the right choice, or should the rebellion try working with more expensive ships that were always being tied to a flagship, however they would have a greater number of them? Let me know what you think down below. Thank you for sticking around to the end of the video. If you actually enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a like. That helps me out a lot with the YouTube algorithm. And if you're someone like me who just absolutely loves Star Wars, consider subscribing for more content like this. And as I said before, this channel is very new, so any help you can give me with the algorithm helps a ton. But that's it for today. Let me know down below also what you would like to see on this channel. This channel is new and I'm still trying to feel my way around it, what I really want this channel to be. I like what I'm doing, but if you have any suggestions you'd like to see that I may be interested in doing, you know, leave them down below. And I'll see you next time on Holocron Hub.